Hello, everyone. I hope you're all keeping well, healthy, and happy. Let's have a quick conversation about this Omnibus bill and why people are extraordinarily upset about the events that have happened over the last 24 hours. What is the Omnibus bill? For those of you that don't know, it's a monster spending bill that has been passed in the United States. It is a massive waste of public money. Okay, all this funding is going to go towards things like Planned Parenthood, DNC pet interests, Obamacare, sanctuary cities, and so on and so forth. Now, you had people like Senator Rand Paul speak out about this and say this was wrong. This bill should not pass through Congress. It should not be signed by the President of the United States. You also had Ted Cruz opposing the bill. And many other very, very sensible people, let us say, all stood against this. However, the upper echelons of the DNC were grinning like wildcats about this. Folks like Chuck Schumer or Pelosi were over the moon. And, of course, on the Republican side, you had these establishment cronies, these figures like Mitch McConnell and Paul Ryan, who were also quite supportive of it. And you know that when these folks are happy, it's not good news for the American people. Yet President Trump signed it anyway. The trouble with this is that only a few hours earlier, Trump had made the point that he was possibly going to veto the Omnibus bill, which would have been the sensible thing to do. If it had come to him, he should have vetoed it, right? Instead, what happened was, he signed it. And a lot of people are seeing this as an act of betrayal. Okay, and they are correct to. This is the problem with this. They are correct to see it in that way. So Trump says originally that he didn't know what was in the spending bill. Well, you had people like Rand Paul telling folks what it was all about, what the hell this thing was. There was thousands and thousands of pages attached to it, and he said, well, look, nobody can read through these. He tried, and nobody can get through it to fully understand what's what. It's kind of like going through the drive-through at a fast food restaurant and not looking what's inside the meal, inside the sandwich, you see. It's a very stupid thing to do, to just pass bills, which Congress does all the time, which, many institutions, unfortunately, that legislate do all the time, instead of taking a proper look at what's what. Now, I don't find it very believable as an excuse that is to say Trump didn't know what was in it. It seems to me that he obviously did know, but for whatever reason, he signed it anyway, and that is the thing. Now, he then later on said that it was to do with military spending and that we needed a strong military. The United States needed a strong military, and this is why he passed this evil monstrosity of a bill. But again, that also does not make sense either, because you can have a strong military and most of the funds in this bill actually aren't going to go towards the military. This is a bullshit excuse that's being used. Okay, what truly happened is that Trump caved in to the DNC. That's what's happened here. That's what's going on. And in my opinion, and I don't say this lightly, by the way, you must understand that for those folks that don't grasp a whole lot, I'm not saying this lightly at all. But in my opinion, this is a case of not only caving in, but revealing yourself to be part of the establishment. Trump talked a lot about the swamp, and I mentioned before previously what that phraseology really did mean inside the military-industrial complex, and it's nothing good, by the way. Folks were cheering this. They didn't realize that the true terminology of the swamp was referring to ordinary American citizens. So that's something I would like folks to understand. I've actually got a video on that, The End Game for America. You can watch that. You will see precisely what I was talking about at the time. I got a lot of pushback for that because I was telling people then what was what. But at any rate, at the very least, I think we can say that Trump is an utter wally for basically doing this. He has signed it. This shows weakness, okay? It's tremendously weak by Trump's own standards to cave in this way to the demands of the DNC. And as a result of that, because people are expecting, well, if you're going to talk the talk, if you're going to talk tough, then you need to act tough, right? But he didn't. And so this is going to lead to him losing the support and respect of every right-headed American. And what will end up happening as a result of this, see, people can't see too far down the road, is that the corrupt DNC will sweep the board in November, in the midterms. And that is because of Trump's own buffoonery and the GOP's incompetence. That's the thing. Okay, it's not, the DNC isn't brilliant right now. It's not in good shape, obviously. Okay? And yet, they're going to receive a tremendous boost from this. Do you see what I'm saying? There is no upside to any of this, by the way. There's no upside at all. There are folks out there, because, see, here's the thing. You get folks that are pom-pom cheerleader types. And they did this is another thing which made me quite angry. They did this after Trump attacked Syria with, 57 Tomahawk missiles? Okay, and all these lunatics out there were screaming, oh, it's 5D chess. Let me say something about these kind of folks that are uncritical at all in their thinking. If Trump took a dump, right, they would say, my goodness, this is miraculous magnificence. Oh, this is 5D chess or 9D chess or 10,000D chess or whatever the hell it is, right? It's not. It's not. This is not a joke. Running a country is not a joke, okay? It's a serious business. And if you're going to do it and you use the popular support of the people to do it, you had better be on side with the people and not betray them. But time and time and time again, the American people have seen Trump not live up to his promises. Hillary is not in jail. The wall has not been built. And don't give me this crap about, oh, there's too much opposition. Who's got control of Congress, of the House? Who's got control of these two major institutions? Right? The Senate and Congress. Who's got control of them? The Republicans do. The GOP does. You've got a guy who ran on the Republican ticket, that being Trump, who is president. You've got power right across the board. This is not. This doesn't make sense to trot out this garbage. Oh, it's too much opposition. Oh, it's the swamp. It's the swamp. Yeah, but again, if you're using that term to mean the actual people that are the problem, the New World Order, sure. But that doesn't detract from the fact that these politicians have a responsibility to the people that have elected them. And they are not living up to that responsibility one bit. Okay, they have sold out. They've sold their souls to buy their futures. It's about their political careers. But those may be shorter than they think, right? Because as I say, what happens further down the line? Once the DNC get back into power in any of these institutions, whether it's Congress, whether it's the executive branch further down the line, and make no mistake, that's a very real possibility, right? There are folks out there that think, oh, well, the DNC's just been knocked out of the game. Don't be too sure about that, because these little avenues through which all this funding will be funneled to their support base are going to benefit from that, okay? And keep in mind, there's a massive demographic change occurring as well inside the United States. There will probably never be, after Trump, another Republican president, because there are voting trends that go along with certain demographic groups, and I don't think that's controversial. That's just a fact, right? It's the same as what's happening in Europe right now and in Britain and so on, right? This is the thing. And, people in government have lost sight of all of this. They don't understand what is going on. So, yeah, the DNC is going to benefit from this in the midterms. And that will weaken anything that the Republicans can do. It will weaken whatever the executive branch can do. Because keep in mind, who's got the power? As I was saying, the power's supposed to be in the hands of the Republicans. Right here, right now, was the perfect opportunity. Since 2016, right after the election, it was the perfect opportunity. Okay, they've had a whole year to get things right. And you know, people have seen over and over and over again that their trust has been misplaced in so many people. It's been abused by so many people. You know? And there doesn't seem to be any thinking behind any of this. This is what makes me angry. There are folks out there that would argue, oh, you know, it is 3D chess, it is 5D chess, it's 9000D chess. What these guys don't understand is, behind Trump were certain types of people with similar skills to what I have, who were cleaning up his messes. Okay? Who could spin things in a certain direction. It's very, very easy to use skills and counter skills to set your opponents off balance on many, many fronts. Okay, this is not Trump's genius that has accomplished anything useful that he's done, incidentally. It's the other people that were doing and what happens each time any of them, you know, talk to Trump about anything and they disagree with him, they get fired. This is not how to run an administration. Does he actually, you know, this is a question I have to ask, does he know what he's doing, or is he just like using the force at this point? You know, this getting rid of Tillerson. People try and say, well, this is to do with him racking up the chessboard, if you like, with people that are more war hawkish, which again isn't necessarily the greatest of things. But if that's the case, if it's to intimidate North Korea, let's say, or Iran, that's understandable. Except for the fact that somebody like Pompeo, who has now been moved from CIA director to the State Department, doesn't have a fucking clue what's happening. He doesn't know his arse from his elbow. That is the blatant truth. Now, a lot of folks won't want to hear that. Okay? They don't want to hear that. But that is the case. Now, who's director of the CIA? Somebody responsible for torture. Okay, and there's a lot of folks that want to argue semantics about this. Oh, what Haspel did wasn't torture. I'm afraid it was. And the majority of crap that they are propagandizing right now, and it is absolute crap, because I happen to know the details behind a lot of this. I don't say anything publicly necessarily about it, but I do know what went on. And exactly how information was extracted, what was useful, where it came from, and how. The precise methodology that worked, and the methodologies that didn't work. And there are folks that want to argue on that and say, oh, you know, we got very useful information out of using torture. No, you didn't. Okay? It can't conclusively be proven that that was the case. In fact, if you look into what went down with the CIA's rendition program, just as one example, it was a colossal failure. They were getting misinformation and disinformation left, right, and center. That actually contributed to the war that was waged in Iraq, incidentally. The absolute failure that ended up in. There's so much I can't go into publicly, but my God, that is not the right person to be sitting there in the position of CIA director. Okay? What was she doing? She was following orders. This is what we always keep hearing, following orders. And that's who Trump appoints. That's lunacy. I don't care how you cut that. That is not morally acceptable. Okay? I mean, there's a million and one different things. You know, this nonsense about, these are the best ways to tackle the following problems. No, they're not. You go straight to the root of the problem. And you neutralize that. And America and their intelligence services did not do that. Okay, the Israelis did, once or twice. I'll give you the example of the nuclear facility in Syria. The Israelis just did a very quick cut-and-bleed operation where they just bombed the factory, or the facility, rather. And that was the end of that. But the US has to be the big, bad, tough guy all the time. And you've got the Israeli lobby groups in there. I mean, my God, it's just a mess right now. You've got the Israelis pushing the US to act on their behalf so many times, and they do. And then there's Russia doing the same thing, except they don't need to do the lobbying. What they do is they set up always these cat and mouse games and these traps, and the US keeps falling into them. Not to mention the thing with the Chinese. The Chinese infiltrated the entire State Department. The Russians infiltrated the State Department. Right? And I've talked about this. I've actually put information out in regards to this. I was one of the first people to do that. The whole thing is a mess. And then you've got these pom-pom cheerleader types out there that don't grasp what is happening in the real world, that don't understand. Or maybe they do, but they're too busy trying to clean up for Trump. Stop propagandizing a second. Use your own sense to understand that doing that can only end badly in the long run if the administration is not stable, if they don't know what the hell they're doing, and no one can persuade them to do what needs to be done properly. And the passing of this bill is the latest example of that. I can't say much more than that, except it's a really bad idea, just like a number of bad ideas that have been put into practice by the Trump administration. You can't excuse that. How do you say that's okay? It's moronic is what it is. The only thing it does is further the interests of the most corrupt people in DC. There's no way to spin this in the favor of the administration. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there for this video. Right? But again, just the fact that it's $1.3 trillion of public spending money that's going basically to DNC causes. And then to back down, to cave in. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Take good care of yourselves, and God bless every one of you.